Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being. Do you hear me? Sound test. Am I good? All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here at our town hall. I'm deeply honored to be here, standing before you as your mayor, alongside my dedicated colleagues on the council. Joining me from the city council are Mayor Pro Tem Deb Schinder, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Winget, council members Elisa Bowers, Mike Britton, and Michael Shoup. And additionally, we have our city manager here, David Hall, and assistant city manager, Manal Maladad, who's sitting over there. We also have the various city departments, the directors and other staff who will be here to help answer any questions that I may not know, or our city manager doesn't know, or anybody on council who doesn't know. I'd like to shout out our communications and marketing team for putting this together and putting it on Facebook Live. I'm sure we will have some questions, so I may point to you to ask one of the questions from Facebook Live. And having this town hall gives us an opportunity to come together, reflect on our progress, and discuss the path forward for our city. Rowlett is not just a geographical location. I believe it is a vibrant and dynamic community made up of resilient individuals who share a common goal, which is to make our city the best place to live, work, and thrive. And having town hall meetings is a symbol of our commitment to open communication, transparency, and collaborative decision-making. It is our hope that you leave here today with your questions answered and your concerns addressed. And after the town hall meeting, some of us will stay back if any of y'all from the audience have any questions you'd like to ask privately. All right, as some of you here know, you have a fairly busy council, and our duty is not just to attend 2 council meetings a month and go to events. There are 10 subcommittees of the city council. That includes dealing with the finance and audits, development reviews, government affairs, public safety, code and environmental review, the water district, and so on. And in addition to that, there are 11 board and commissions that council members and I are assigned to that we must attend. And this is just some of what we do, and we are honored to do it. And I can't say enough how appreciative we are of our community partners, the Rowlett Citizen Corps Council, Friends of Rowlett Animals, Friends of the Rowlett Library, the Chamber of Commerce, and Keep Rowlett Beautiful, and Life Message. These are just some of the organizations that are in the community that we're so fortunate to have. And so much of our success as a city is due to these amazing organizations that serve the community. I'm sure some of y'all have looked around lately and noticed all of the development that have been taking place over the last, who knows how many years, 5 years? Yes, there's more, and you either appreciate that news or you despise it. With that being said, above me is the list of ongoing and planned development projects throughout the city. And we have a number of commercial and mixed-use projects that are under construction or will be. These include Sapphire Bay, Lakeview Business District, Rowlett Commerce Center, and Skyview in downtown. That's just to name a few. And of course, more apartments. And let me clear things up about that. So for those of you who are frustrated by that, between 2015 and 2017, the city council at the time began approving multifamily projects after project, either through zoning changes, master plan developments, or major warrants. This was because there was only just a few apartments that existed in Rowlett back then. And by the time 2018 came around, construction had begun on many of these approved projects. However, most of these projects didn't begin until 2019, and there are still some projects being built today or will be built in the future that were approved during 2015 and 2017. So in 2019, when I became council member, construction of multifamily began happening in many areas of the city. And I put forth an ordinance to council to require a special use permit for any additional or not yet approved multifamily projects. The Zoning Commission and the City Council to seek approval, even if the property they wish to build on is already zoned for multifamily. Since this SUP was established, there have been maybe 1 or 2 cases since that special use permit that have come before council, and none of which have passed. And to be clear, I have no issues with multifamily. I've lived in one and actually enjoyed it. My own personal concern has always been at the rate at which they've been built and the strain on city resources and infrastructure as a result. I hope that addresses some of your concerns. We as council members, get those concerns shared with us all the time. So we hear you. Another project is Sapphire Bay, and I'm sure some of you are curious about the status of Sapphire Bay. It's no question that COVID, supply chain shortages, rising inflation, and labor shortages have contributed to delays of this project and any other project of this magnitude. In addition, it was only a few months ago that Encore and the developer finally came to an agreement, and now power is getting installed to support the entire Sapphire Bay Peninsula. And the good news is that once this is done, all below-ground infrastructure will be completed, and all of the roads are in, street lights are being installed, and you can see multiple developments under construction now. This construction does include residential, which has always been planned as a part of the development, and some commercial restaurants currently being constructed, which there will be much more planned in the future. As for the main amenities, the owner and developer remains committed to building the Surf and Beach Club, as well as the lagoon and major hotel convention center. The vision has not changed. All right, for fiscal year 2023, which is what we're in now, the City Council reduced the property tax rate by 6.4 cents per $100 of assessed value. For a home assessed at $300,000, this equals $192 of a reduction. However, this is not the full story. For those of you who do not have a senior tax freeze, you will still be paying more in property tax than you did last year due to the continued rise in appraisal values as set by the appraisal districts. Additionally, the citizens overwhelmingly supported the May 2023 bond propositions, which will result in a slight tax rate increase in fiscal year 2024, which begins October 1. This will allow us to build a new police department, fire administration building, and a new animal shelter, which are all very desperately needed, and we appreciate your support on that. All right, some disappointing news. The North Texas Municipal Water District continues to significantly raise water rates year over year. And because the city has a very healthy water fund, we are able to absorb most of the impact as not to pass on the entire rate increase onto everyone. However, we still did have to pass on a 1.8% rate increase for the average residential customer. Additionally, due to a 57% increase in fuel costs and other price increases, the city's trash collection contract with FCC has increased by 5%, costing the average residential customer roughly 67 cents per month. And more on FCC, beginning October of next year, we will have a new trash service provider. All right, so those of you who live on the southeast side of Rowlett are well aware of the construction taking place on Miller Road. Actually, I skipped ahead, forgive me. We continue to invest in infrastructure improvements throughout the city, and as I'm sure y'all are all aware, some of the most significant projects right now include the expansion of Miller Road, intersection improvements at Dow Rock Road and Lakeview Parkway, and additionally, we are currently in the right-of-way acquisition for Chisa Road, which is the 4-lane road expansion project, which is south of Miller, and then also for right turn lane construction around the city. There are several areas we've identified throughout the city where we will be installing right turn lanes to relieve some of the congestion. And I will go more into these projects. Now, those of you who live on the southeast side of Rowlett are well aware of the construction taking place on Miller Road between the railroad tracks and Dow Rock Road. And this project includes expanding the road to 4 lanes in total with concrete, storm drainage, a median, street lights, and trees. And due to the construction, there's been and will continue to be traffic impacts. Westbound Miller Road is expected to be open on November 7th, pending any delays. And this will shift all traffic to the new road while construction begins for the new eastbound side of Miller, which is the current 2-lane asphalt road that you drive on now. And as I've stated before, construction has and will impact traffic. Currently, northbound Chisa Road to Bay Hill Drive is closed as crews improve this part of the road. This will last anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks. And we continue to discuss the plan for Miller Road Phase 3, which is between President George Bush Turnpike and the railroad tracks. This project could cost around $50 million, and this project will include constructing a bridge for eastbound traffic and reconstructing westbound lanes, which currently serve both directions of traffic. This will result in a total of 4 lanes and possibly a protected pedestrian path along the new bridge. The City Council recently allocated $2.56 million to match the $2.56 million allocated by Dallas County Major Capital Improvement Program. This will result in over $5 million being allocated to this project to allow for some studies and potentially design and engineering in the future. And this will result in in many cases, best chance for federal funding participation is when a project is at or near shovel ready. So because we haven't had any design work done on the Miller Road Bridge project before, it lessens our chances for getting federal dollars, which is how most projects of this scope are funded. The majority of these projects are funded through federal dollars. So the City Council understands this, and this is why we went ahead and allocated the $2.56 million to this project to get this going. All right, construction of the intersection of Dow Rock Road and Lakeview Parkway is now underway, and this project is being led and managed by TxDOT. This project will include the construction of 2 dedicated turn lanes in all directions and 1 dedicated right turn lane in all directions. Additionally, a 3rd lane for eastbound Lakeview Parkway between Dow Rock Road and about until neighborhood Walmart will be constructed, and this will allow the 3rd lane for eastbound Lakeview Parkway to before Dow Rock to continue through the intersection, unlike the current situation where it dead ends and you have to get over at the last second, and people get frustrated by that. This hopefully will dramatically reduce the number of wrecks occurring in front of Taco Bueno, as I'm sure we've all noticed. And construction is expected to be complete in May of 2024, pending any delays. Interstate 30 between Bass Pro and Dow Rock is well under construction and is expected to be complete by December of 2024. This project includes the construction of separate bridge structures for the 3-lane service roads in each direction and the complete reconstruction of Dow Rock and Interstate 30 interchange. As y'all are well aware, this construction has created incredible traffic issues, not just on 30, but throughout every thoroughfare surrounding it, including Lakeview Parkway. It has made it pretty hard to get around during rush hour, and I continue to remind myself that once phases 1 and 2 are complete, it will greatly improve traffic congestion on I-30 and on Lakeview Parkway. And as I mentioned in a previous slide about being in the right-of-way acquisition process for the eventual expansion of Chisa Road, between Miller Road and Dow Rock Road, this project will also include 4 concrete lanes, a median, sidewalk, streetlights, and trees. And this project is currently at 60% design, and construction is expected to start sometime around the end of 2024, when kind of around the time Miller Road construction is completed. All right, the Merritt Road Interconnector is a project that has long been in the making. We've been discussing this for many years. And this roadway will run between Merritt Road at PGBT to Liberty Grove near Chisa Road. This will also be a 4-lane concrete road that will include a bridge, bike lanes, sidewalks, streetlights, and trees. And last year, the city was the recipient of a federal grant called the Surface Transportation Block Grant, or STBG, in the amount of $14 million. In order to receive the federal dollars, an environmental study must be conducted. This has moved the timeline to construction in 2027. And an additional $3.5 million will be needed to fully fund this project, including predicted inflation. The reason why it's $3.5 million more is because when you extend the timeline to start construction that far out, you have to account for the inflation as a result. So we're hoping to get Dallas County to participate and splitting half of that cost, 1.75 for the county to pay for, hopefully they do, and then 1.75 for the city to pay for, potentially out of the 2024 May bond election. All right, public safety is the utmost priority for your city council, and our new police chief has taken tremendous steps in advancing the police department's operations and proactivity. And I've been impressed and super grateful, I know all of our council has, to our chief and his team for really transforming the department. And when I first got on the city council in 2018, I couldn't believe the number of officers we did not have. Pretty sobering. I believe it left us vulnerable, and if we did not add additional officers due to the population growth in our city and the North Texas region. And as such, we have added a total of 23 officers since 2019, taking us from 79 sworn positions to 102 sworn positions, 65 of these being patrol officers. We are expected to add more positions to the police department in fiscal year 2024, beginning this October. Many communities are turning to advanced technology to help address crime. One of the ways Rowlett is doing this is by implementing the Flock license plate reader camera system throughout the city. Earlier this year, we installed 10 Flock cameras in strategic areas across the city, and because of the instant success, the city council approved the purchase of another 10 cameras to go in more areas of the city. I think within the first 2 weeks, we got a good number of cases and stolen vehicles off the street. Many communities are, I'm excited to say that we will be aiming to have another bond election in May of 2024, and the current project bonding capacity includes $63 million, although it could be more as we get closer to the election. We will see. This bond election will include millions of dollars that will be allocated to more infrastructure projects, park projects, and possibly the renovation of some fire stations. So far, we have spent nearly $40 million on road projects over the last 3 bond cycles, and we want to continue this project progress and hope that you will turn out to vote in May of 2024. If you didn't already know, we have a podcast, and the My Rowlett podcast provides bi-weekly insider's look into city initiatives, as well as interviews with some of our local newsmakers, business owners, and citizens making a difference in shaping our community's future. I also do a Mayor's Spotlight podcast every month, and for last month's podcast, I spotlight the current and upcoming road projects throughout the city and interview our city engineer, Jeff Cohen, who answers questions on those projects. And for this month's Mayor's Spotlight, I interviewed our own Mayor Pro Tem Deb Schinder and Councilmember Elisa Bowers to discuss what it's like being on the city council, since we have an election coming up in November. And you can find these podcasts on YouTube, or for the video version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. There are a few important things coming up, so stay tuned on. September 20th, the City Council will be adopting the fiscal year 2024 budget, which will take effect on October 1. And additionally, due to an unexpected vacancy of City Council Place 1, there will be a special election on November 7th, 2023. And as I mentioned previously, we are planning on having a bond election in May of 2024. So without further ado, and what y'all probably came here for, is time for questions. I will try to answer as many questions as I can, and I have my colleagues here to help me if I don't know the answer to something, and we also have directors of the departments here as well. So let's get started. Who's number one? Who's going to break the ice?
Hello, my name is Kennedy. I'm a crossing guard for, I believe it's Kelly Elementary. And I noticed on Skylight Drive, some new signs were put up, speed signs, electronic digital. And I think we need more of those around Rowlett, especially down Liberty Grove. Becomes an issue when you get up to the school area and past it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I agree with you completely. There are more areas where we could put those digital speed signs. I've talked to our city manager, David Hall, about it, and we're looking at a way to possibly buy a bulk order of those, but we will see. We're still investigating that, but we're hoping we can get some more around the city.
I see.
They add up pretty quick. They're about $3,000 a piece, but you add that up, and
Yeah.
it gets up there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, sir.
Hello, God bless you. My name is Ricardo, and quite frankly, Mayor, I'm just I'm very disappointed, Mayor. You know, we live in a world here where, you know, kids here in school, and I'm also a graduate from Rowlett High School. You can walk in there, hold hands with the same sex. You can have weed in your pocket, but you can't carry a King James Bible. And you know, you stand for the LGBTQ agenda, which is demonic and against what Jesus Christ stood for. So My question is why do you hate Jesus Christ?
No, sir, I don't hate Jesus Christ, but I also am elected as mayor. I don't represent
Why is it okay for a grown man to throw on heels and walk into a little girl's restroom as if she's not going to get raped? This has contaminated Dallas, and it's slowly but surely contaminating Rowlett. And you know this. You know this.
No, I don't. I've never seen that before. But what I will say is
Over-
I represent all citizens, no matter who they are. I don't represent a religion. I represent the citizens, no matter who they are. That's my job. That's what we're all elected to do. That's what we'll continue to do. I don't have any control over schools in this city, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Repent.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Alex Cruz. I'm a new resident. I'm happy to be here. I love Rowlett. I support you guys. I've been watching the podcast. I try to keep up with you guys and learn more about the city. I'm from Dallas. I recently moved in August, and I received a letter in my mail regarding a sewer problem you guys have, and over there on Woodside, and it'll say that if you would like to support, just give a call. So I just had a question, like regarding what support do you guys need? I have been doing some maintenance and repairs on the current house, and I seen some toads, like frogs. So I'm not sure if that's related, but yeah.
So you got a letter in the mail that said we need you to support a sewer project?
Yeah, I didn't stop by the house to grab the letter. I wish I did, but I was running late, so I didn't want to.
We're going to have Jeff Cohen, who's the city engineer, answer that question. You may know more.
So,
than I do.
thank you for your question. Jeff Cohen, Director of Engineering, Interim Director of Public Works, and we are aware of that situation. I did see a copy of that letter. We are still assessing what we can do with those. There are quite a lot of it's really the cleanouts and the valve stacks that have, it appears that they have risen, but really what's happened is that the soil has sunk, and so we're looking into some solutions. But I don't think the toads are any related at all to that.
Okay, no, I just had a question, and you know, I love to support and help and volunteer and get involved in any way I can.
Well, thank you. If you don't mind reaching out, you can either reach out to mayor@rowlett.com or citycouncil@rowlett.com. We can connect you with somebody regarding the volunteer stuff, and I'd be happy to meet you in my office and talk more about some of the other opportunities we have. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Kalawali. I'm a founder of Pray Before I Eat nonprofit organization. I was born and raised in Rowlett, Texas. I'm the youngest of four. A few focus points on my nonprofit is giving back to homeless shelters and foundations, building camaraderie within the youth, and forming a support group for single fathers. Statistics show that 400 to 700 people are moving to Rowlett specifically every day, and that includes a lot of kids entering different school districts. One of the focus points for my nonprofit is ways we can be advocates for mental health for the youth in our area. Is the city, are you guys willing or to point us in the right direction to maybe have after-school programs to help these kids, maybe with their feelings or what they're going through every day? I'm a athlete myself, so I know a lot of student athletes may have problems that they may be going through and maybe need a mentor or a coach. Is this something that the city will be willing to make happen?
Definitely something we're willing to look into, because a lot of the students who get out of high school, they come straight here and play basketball and spend time together. So it could be an opportunity for us to collaborate with you. What's the name of your organization?
Pray Before I Eat.
Okay. Sure. If you don't mind emailing me or the city council, citycouncil@rowlett.com. Yes. And email us your information, and then we'll get it to the right people. Or you can stay afterwards and I can give you the contact information if you want.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Karen Anez. I spoke with you at the July council meeting about the animal shelter. And I was so hopeful. Afterwards, you listened. I think most or all of you went and and saw for yourself that very next day, and I appreciate that. In fact, I think a couple of y'all had to leave because it was worse than what you imagined. My concern is that we haven't done what we said we were going to do. Like I said, I was hopeful because you went and you found that money and you added some to it. And I just knew that those conditions were going to turn around. And many of you reached out to me and said, if you don't see things happening, please let you know. And I did. And I think it kind of got things started again. But I guess my question is, what can you guys do to make sure that it's being done? There's something in the middle. I mean, the staff, I can't imagine staff not wanting better conditions for what their career is, taking care of lost and sick and waiting for their forever home pets. I can't imagine them not wanting a better place. And I need to know what's going on in the middle, from you guys saying, let's make it happen, to the staff going, yay, and then it not doing it. And I know some of you have sent me some emails, some very vague, it'll be done soon. Being an ex-teacher, vagueness doesn't fit into what I do. And then there are some that have been very specific, like the turf will be done by September 12th. Well, September 12th is come and gone, and it hasn't even been started. So my question again is, what can you do to get it going?
Thank you for your question. Thank you for your question. I understand. We got some good supporters back there. So I think what's in the middle is government, and that is we have rules that we have to follow, procurement procedures.
Right.
And it tends to delay things. And so because this is a more expensive project, we have to follow procurement procedure on going out to bid, getting 3 quotes, and then from there you schedule the start date. And so from that time to this time, that's my understanding of what has occurred, is that staff has been out there getting the 3 quotes, and then I think construction is supposed to start this Friday or next Friday.
It's scheduled for this Friday. They were going to try to start on Monday, but because of the rain in the forecast, they needed the weather to be clear. So they're planning to start this Friday and complete it on Saturday.
Complete it on Saturday?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay,
And that's the turf.
that's just the turf.
Correct.
That's the turf.
And then the fencing will come after that, as I
Yes.
understand it.
That's
Okay. And then the kennel covers after that.
That's correct.
Okay. And so one of the emails that I received said the goal was to have all of those 3 major things completed by October 15th. Is that still?
That is correct. And I am the one that sent the email.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
And also we're really excited to start the planning for the new animal shelter.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to partnering with the volunteers to help us figure out how to build that thing correctly the first time.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I know the Animal Advisory Board is working hard at looking at different animal shelters and picking the best of all of them.
We're excited, and but yes, this work can't get.
We've got to take care of our babies now. They
Yep.
can't wait until it's
Oh,
built
yeah, it's 2 years.
years from now. So, okay, well, I appreciate you listening, and I'll be in touch. I think you know that now.
Yeah. Dale Jackson, who is the director, interim director of community development, do you mind speaking on the entire timeline schedule?
Yes, sir. The issues that we ran into, as the mayor indicated, were problems with complying with all of the purchasing laws for Texas, meeting all of those. We did get through that process, and we were able to get the bids approved. The work will begin on Friday. It is what the vendor has assured me, and that it should be completed by the end of the day on Saturday.
Okay,
Now, once that work is completed, then we will begin doing the repair work on the fences.
Mhm.
And then once we complete the fences, which we expect that to be done the first week of October,
okay,
then we will complete the work on the covers for the kennels. We are expecting that to be done by the mid-October, October 15th.
okay. A quick follow-up question. Have the bids and contracts already been done for the fencing and the kennel covers, or do we have to wait to do that as well?
So the Public Works is working with the Animal Services Manager
Mhm.
to identify all of the work that needs to be done. I don't think that the work that's being done is going to require all of the bidding that we have to do here, because this was a much more expensive project. We were looking at $22,000 in excess of that for the turf work, and the repair work on the fencing will be much less than that. So we don't expect that to require bidding.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello again. Yes.
Hello again. This is to follow up on something that she had mentioned. It seems like if anyone has an issue, they bring it directly to the city. And it seems like everything falls through the cracks. Like earlier when we talked, I had spoken about protection at the dog park, shade protection. He told me to give him 2 weeks. I gave him a month, and I contacted him by phone and by email. Never got a response back. He's a city employee.
If you don't mind giving us that contact information as well,
Okay.
who you spoke to.
Yeah.
But whenever anybody's having an issue getting through to anybody, which shouldn't be an issue, you can always, again, email citycouncil@rowlett.com and we will assist you.
Okay. Yeah, there's been several issues like utility service. I'll call, what's it called? The inspection, where you got to get a permit. Like messages. I was told to speak to this certain person, left a voicemail, never heard back. It's like, what is the city doing, really? And it seems like the only way I can get anything really done is through the app, the City View, I
Yes.
believe it's called.
Right.
That's the only way, because there's a record. And I think that's because if you talk to them, it's like, oh, well, there's not a record of it, you know?
Yeah, if you ever run into that issue, again, email citycouncil@rowlett.com.
Okay.
This card is a city manager's card. If you don't mind giving him some of that information you have, and he'll follow up. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Mackenzie Josick. And I have some concerns about the safety of Fairfield Drive and the maintenance of Twin Star Park. I'd like to start with Fairfield. So in front of Twin Star Park, there is a speed bump to reduce the speed near the park, obviously. But after that, there's nearly half a mile of straight street that everyone thinks is a drag strip, and it's a residential street. Kids, people, dogs going up and down to the park and back to their houses. Cars parked on the side of the road because we all have alley parking in our garages. And I think that we need to address this by adding either more speed bumps or maybe putting a couple of stop signs at some of the three-way intersections just to interrupt that flow of traffic a little bit and slow people down. To touch on Twin Star Park, there are two spots in the sidewalk on the opposite side of the park from each other that are low spots. And when we get a good rain, we haven't in a while, but when we get a good rain, that gets filled with 2 to 3 inches of water. You can't get around it, and it stays there for several days. I would ask that the city consider fixing those sidewalks and fixing the drainage to go underneath. I also, actually, I was walking at the park yesterday and I noticed there's a spot where everything is brown and sunken, but there's one spot where the grass is lush and the earth is heaved up. I think there might be a leak in the water line
Hmm.
near that spot. It's along Armstrong underneath the sidewalk. Um,
You said near Armstrong?
yeah,
Okay.
on the sidewalk, under the sidewalk along Armstrong.
Okay.
The last point I'd like to address is the removal or the replacement of the basketball goal. At the last town hall meeting, it was discussed that this was removed following a shooting. It was very unfortunate. And in the 2 years prior that I have lived in that area, I have enjoyed watching the kids play basketball, even in 100-degree heat, as I'm coming home from work at the end of the day. And that shooting happened neither near nor because of the basketball goal, from what news reports say, and the blood stain that's still on the concrete of the sidewalk at the park.
There's still a stain on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Now those kids who were playing basketball every day and staying out of trouble don't have basketball to play anymore. There's soccer goals out there, but there's not as many people playing soccer in the area. So I would like to ask that that basketball goal be reinstalled because it shouldn't have been taken down in the first place.
Thank you. We will discuss that. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. I personally forgot about it. So I'll reapproach the city manager and see what we can do. Regarding the Fairfield Drive, the speed, I'll also talk to our city manager about what some solutions could be there. We're looking at, again, I mentioned earlier, digital speed signs in some of the bad areas where we have a lot of speed in neighborhoods, as a potential way to get people's attention on their speed. And then regarding the other issues, Jeff Cohen,
Yeah.
would you like to address?
I'll be happy to send a team out to look at and assess the situation. I can keep in touch with you. In fact, it sounds like a long list. If you don't mind, maybe later afterwards, we can speak and I can get that list. Okay.
Thank you.
And again, always feel free to email citycouncil@rowlett.com.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello.
Geraldine Fitzgerald. I feel like my question is kind of a little weak compared to everybody before
No.
me. I got a question, Mayor. Is there any way possible that we can put up signs on the sub road, starting where Covington is on down, about littering? I know that sounds kind of light compared to everything else, but it seems like everybody likes to dump stuff along that way. And I was just wondering if we had a sign saying, hey, there's a big fine for littering. I don't know what our budget goes as far as cameras or anything like that goes, but it's really bad the way people just dump stuff along that way. And I lived in that subdivision, so I get to see it every day.
So you're talking about the service road past Covington's nursery?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Are you also mentioning, I just saw it today. I saw
Okay.
a big mound of debris in
Yes,
front
sir.
of a house. Is that
Uh-huh.
what you're talking about?
Yes,
It is a problem.
that's part. Yeah.
What I'm going to do is ask the city manager to follow up on that and see if we can get FCC out there to pick up that debris.
Yeah.
I just noticed it today,
I get
and
to see it every day.
jaw dropped at how big that mound has gotten
It is.
along the service road. So yeah, he'll take care of it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
I'd like to talk about the value of Paddle Point Park and our lakefront parks. By almost any measure, Paddle Point Park is our most valuable park. First, look at how crowded it is. Second, how many patrons use it per square foot for both legal and illegal activities. Third, the sales tax revenue it brings to the city. Fourth, the sales it generates for area businesses. Lakeside South is also a valuable park, but not as valuable as Paddle Point Park by any of these measures. When we widen Miller Road during Phase 3, we will lose some parkland. By moving the bridge and approach road south into Lakeside Park and away from Paddle Point Park, we will increase the value of our parks. Now that the city has allocated funds for the design of Phase 3, the 5-point-some million, the feasibility of moving Miller Road south through Lakeside South should be studied by engineers and designers who are good at this, not the lowest cost consultants. I have brought this up with the leadership of the Parks Department and Park Advisory Board, and the thought was that it was the responsibility of Public Works to do this. Okay, then who's advocating for the parks? Addressing Phase 3 Miller Road planned location will provide Rowlett an opportunity to clean up its ongoing right-of-way problems. And then some good informations. Monday, I received a notice that we were receiving 40 child's PFDs, life jackets, from the CETO Foundation. No grant reporting, no restrictions. We didn't even have to apply for it.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations on that. Yeah. We appreciate everything that you do and your company does for recreation in this city. It really puts Rowlett on the map, and we absolutely value that and appreciate all the feedback that we get from you. So just wanted to mention that. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. And taking a look with that 5 million or so of, if at the front end, if you say, hey, we'd like to take a look at the feasibility of it, and if it comes out that it saves us 10 million, well, that's a no-brainer. If it costs us $10 more, maybe we'll have to start thinking about it. But if we get it in on the front end, taking a look at it, that would be good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Catherine Dean. I want to talk about the destruction of about 10 mature trees on Rowlett Road by the developer who's building in the southwest corner of Miller Road and Rowlett Road. At the height of our heat this summer, 110-degree days, they were digging with a bobcat and chopping the roots of these trees, not putting any water on them, not doing anything to ensure their survival. And if you drive down there now, there's still dirt piled against, covering the flanges of the trees. Animals live in those trees. They make our city beautiful. And I know, Blake, you talked to me about the mitigation plan, but that's not good enough. We don't want to lose trees. We take 1 step forward and 3 steps back when we do that. Trees mitigate noise. They clean the air. They generate oxygen. They absorb carbon. And they retain stormwater, which we need to have. If you have fewer trees, you have more heat, more noise, more air pollution, more flooding and erosion. Climate solutions depend on mature trees, not 3-inch replacement trees. We need to protect these resources and continue to plant. And there are other things you can do. There's permeable concrete that we could request builders use for sidewalks that allows the water to go through the concrete. When they have to dig around trees, there's something called an air spade they can use that'll allow them to dig around the tree roots and not chop them. Yesterday, I was in shock. There was a bulldozer, a bobcat, in a trench next to the trees. They've destroyed the whole irrigation system. Mm-hmm. So who's paying for that? And who allowed them to do this? And was it not built into a contract that they had to protect trees?
So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. So I actually noticed this last week. I drive Rowlett Road every day. So I saw that and I looked over sitting in traffic and saw that half the root system was removed. And I know that means those trees are going to die.
They're gonna die.
So I immediately called Manal Maladad, our assistant city manager, and said, what's going on here? So she looked into it, and I assume you have an answer.
I absolutely do have an answer. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your question. It's something that the city staff is very keen to address. Obviously, we have current ordinances on the books right now, which do have parameters for mitigation and replanting, but they're not as strenuous as it relates to how we look at trees now, understanding the value of trees, what they do with the heat island effect. And so currently in draft is a conservation and landscape ordinance that's under review and will be coming forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission and ultimately the City Council for approval that will be able to address those concerns as it relates to the types of materials, less concrete, less runoff, understanding the tree canopy, types of tree species planting. Now, as it relates to the caliper inch planting, unfortunately, we are bound to certain state requirements on how much we can require from a mitigation standpoint. There is also a mitigation parameter. If you cannot plant trees, then you can obviously pay towards a reforestation fund And those trees then, including irrigation, can be used towards replanting. However, it's not just about replanting and mitigation, it's about education. And this revised ordinance that we're looking at, that we are hopeful to present to the City Council very, very soon, looks into those elements of understanding what types of materials we should use, what types of concrete we should limit, how much concrete we should limit, and then, of course, how should we preserve and how should we use the lay of the land to develop. So a little bit of change of philosophy and thought on current ordinances, but that is coming forward. So we do understand your concerns, as does the team. And we're hopeful to come and try and implement some of those changes in the very near future.
We know that the storms are getting stronger. The temperatures will get higher. This is probably the coolest summer that we will see for many years, if you listen to climate experts. So I wonder if the city could have a climate action plan, if they also could have a comprehensive environmental plan. And the canopy of trees, most of them are on private land, and people tend to take care of their trees in this community. But it's on the city land, the public land, that I think we need less concrete, less development of those heat islands. And, you know, and contributing to the air pollution is something we don't want, and trees are necessary to mitigate that. And that's mitigation. That's a big deal. Most of the hospital admits of children are kids with asthma. And we are surrounded by highways here. We need the trees. So I would like you to make that a very important part of your discussions in the next year.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Manal, do you mind directly answering the situation on Miller Road specifically?
I'm sorry, I got so engaged in talking about, being hopeful about a new ordinance. And again, going back to currently the ordinances that we have allow for removal and ultimately mitigation in form of either planting or paying towards a reforestation fund. Those trees will be mitigated that are damaged, and that's part of the median requirement that they needed to allow for access, ingress and egress to the property.
Who pays for that?
The
developer.
does.
Like kind? They're going to replace a 6-inch tree with a 6-inch tree.
No, it's so depending on, it's not, it's 1-to-1, but the minimum tree planting ratio requirement is 4-inch caliper.
That's not what they've killed. And you know, last year or earlier this year, somebody hit a crepe myrtle, a very large, mature crepe myrtle, knocked the whole thing down. Parks Department went and removed it, but it was never replaced. You know, I mean,
Right, no, and I completely understand your concerns. I'd love to sit down and have a larger conversation with you, and then get you that information on Miller Road as well, if you'd indulge me, please.
all right. Then there's another place called Murray Trail where a lot of trees were planted, and they were planted this summer and never watered, and they've all died.
I will look into that, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Also, City Manager just reminded me that we have a work plan coming up to look at how to best expend tree mitigation funds because that fund is currently added up, and so we want to start spending that money on tree replacement. So we're going to be looking at
Well, what about the watering? Because you have to water a tree for 3 years to get it established.
It's
Yeah,
part of
that's all
it.
part of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Lee Shaw. I want to say something about your employees. I give you a lot of credit for going with the work week the way you've decided to do. I think that's the best asset you have is your people. And so I'm glad that there was a compromise done for that and that we will be able to go to any department 5 days a week. So I thank you for that. The other thing is police department data. It's coming out a little bit different, I think, isn't it? It's really, really good. I mean, I appreciate that. Now, going into November, we have got to get out and vote because the legislature passed the exemption. They upped the exemption. Doesn't mean that it's going to pass in local government. So we need to go get out there and vote in November. That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Casson Huddleston, Freedom Place Church. Again, thank all y'all for serving and staff. And Mayor, thank you for speaking with me today privately. And I told you I would come this evening. Speaking about the election, November the 7th, we received Well, first, I just want to ask you, y'all removed and canceled our contract that Freedom Place Church had with the Dallas County elections from your item 7K from September 5th meeting. And two things I want to ask. You said it was surprising to you. You don't know how this happened. So I'd like to ask you, did you find out how it happened? What was the process on that? And then after you answer that, I have a follow-up question for your other statements. So again, what was the process that you said caught you off guard 15 minutes before a meeting that had, as we shared, and I shared with you, and I'm going to share publicly here in a minute, that started back in probably the end of May in negotiations, and then the election committee approaching us. So please do that, and then ask, why did you cancel that contract and move it there, please?
Thank you, sir. So on August 15th of this year, the City Council had approved an ordinance calling for a special election to be held at the City Hall Annex. The ordinance had to come back to the City Council on September 5th to amend the times of the voting. However, what was not communicated to the City Council was the location change from the City Hall Annex to your church, Freedom Place. And Dallas County Elections Department unilaterally made that decision to change the location of early voting in Rowlett without consulting with the City of Rowlett, which is problematic. City Hall Annex is where our citizens, all of you, go to vote and early vote, and that's where it should stay. Therefore, in response, the City Council that night pulled that item off of consent and onto individual consideration and voted unanimously to move the location of voting back to City Hall Annex where it belongs. And that's where it's always been done in this city for many years.
And so again, you really didn't discover the process. It just was a unilateral decision by the county elections committee, correct?
That is our understanding, is that Dallas County Elections took it upon themselves to change the location.
Yeah.
Without our involvement.
Yeah. And so in your statement that evening, which you can watch it online, 7K, my concern is, and we talked today, and you said, as a city, when you call a special election, y'all are paying for that. Right. And so you have those opportunities to decide to some degree. And so I give you that. It's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. So y'all, that's fine. But the way that it was presented, 7K on the video, and I transcribed your statements, two things, and I spoke this to you personally today. I told you I was going to bring it to light. You only named one institution in that whole about 9 minutes of discourse, Freedom Place Church, and you ended out with a very abrupt statement that, and I'm just going to quote it if that's okay, that you don't know what was taking place, you don't know how this took place, and let me get to that just so that I won't paraphrase. This was a last minute change. I have no idea how this came up. Believe me, I'm going to find out and figure out what happened here because I don't appreciate being caught off guard. I don't appreciate a last minute change without notice. This is some kind of slight attempt to get something through council I do not appreciate. And so with that, as I spoke to you personally today, it felt like we were the only other people named in that statement, that it was something we did. And as I said to you, let me just ask you, is that what you meant?
Absolutely not. And thank you for asking that so I could address that. Absolutely not. It was not targeted at you or your church. It was absolutely targeted. My frustration was with Dallas County Elections and whoever at staff didn't properly notify council of the location change. So following that, we investigated where it came from and determined that, yes, it did come from Dallas County Elections of their department. But no, sir, absolutely not. Did not intend to make it sound like it was anything that Freedom Place Church did, because it's not y'all's call to make anyway.
Exactly. And as I stated to you, they came and approached us in May, June about the 24 election, and then asked just a few weeks later if we'd be interested in the November election. I said, sure, we'd be great for that. And that whole thing was done. How y'all reversed it so quick in one day, I still wonder, because it was voted by the commission. Everything was done. Our contract was signed. I even got a contact from the city on Friday saying, hey, you're the new guy. Thank you. Anything we can do to help. And it was just a shocker. And then the last thing in that statement, you said that you do not believe that any voting needs to be done in a church or a religious place. And I think you said a mosque. So I did a little research, and I felt like that was out of order because historically speaking, in Dallas County, I called and just did a little research myself. And just of the last election that some of you were voted in at, early voting, 28% of the facilities for early voting in all Dallas County was religious institutions, Islamic houses of worship, churches. That's a total of 19,133 people. The largest voting center, and this was from John Wiley Price, and I checked it with 2 other officials, probably the last 15 or 20 years, has been our Redeemer Lutheran Church on Park and 75, the highest turnouts nearly every year. There was a little runoff election in 23 that had nothing to do with Rowlett, but it's still 38% of those votes were cast in religious facilities, and Redeemer was the most. And then this election that you're voting on, or that you're going to have now in November, 14% of those centers are religious, and 15% of early voting, and then the actual voting centers on that day are religious. So I don't understand your statement that shouldn't ever be, and especially when you used, the context that people wouldn't feel welcome, wouldn't feel wanted, when it's a standard practice, not only in Dallas County, and even my conversation with John Wiley Price, his own church, Friendship West, is one of the long-standing, probably largest facilities that there is in early voting. And I don't see how you can make that blanket statement on every house of worship in this city. So could you please expound upon that?
Absolutely. So again, when this came up, number one, it was a shock. But number two is early voting in this city for decades has been held at City Hall Annex. And I truly believe that's where early voting in Rowlett belongs, is a place where everybody can come to and feel welcome. I'm happy. I have no problems voting in a church. I'm a believer. I would go vote in a church. But I do know of some constituents who would feel uncomfortable doing that. And so I have to be a representative for all people. And so that's why it was better to do it at City Hall Annex, where nobody feels pressured in a certain way.
And that's what I was going to ask. I'm just presenting facts to you. So factually, you're saying that there are people that would have real problem voting in any church or the new mosque that is here in Rowlett. You know that for sure. And that is fact. These are facts.
I have no doubt that voting happens at churches in Dallas County, but I'm not mayor of Dallas County. I'm mayor of the city of Rowlett. And so I represent those people. There are constituents that I know wouldn't feel comfortable. So I have to represent those people, and that's why the best place to vote is City Hall Annex, where it's always been done. That was the most frustrating part, is that it was a last-minute change.
It's always been done. It's been done for a while, but I checked with previous.
Since I've been alive, so for me, always.
That's 24 years.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Yes.
Rowlett's been longer than 24 years.
It has, sir.
And so there's been voting at the Church of Christ north of, there's been, excuse me, I have the mic. There's a voting center that was in Church of Christ there north of Covington's. Checked with previous older people in the city that had known, even previous secretaries that had been at other churches. So maybe since you have been alive, or at least able to vote, but it's just a common factor. And I just feel like that statement puts a wrong cast upon all places of worship, per your own words, in this city. And I just
Respect your position, sir. I just don't agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh. You're cutting.
Hi, I'm Kelly McKee. I know we've all experienced increased traffic trying to get around the city and
Thank you.
Just moving through the city. You addressed some of the reasons for that earlier, the construction on 30 and some of the various construction projects throughout the city. Another thing that I think contributes to it is the timing of the lights throughout the city. And is there a plan in place to address some of that and try to alleviate some of the congestion caused by the lights throughout the city?
That's a great question. It's a pretty big issue that we have in this city that we've come to recognize even through all the traffic that we've increased in traffic due to additional people moving into the region, also construction. The timing sequence on our signals is obviously a problem. When I asked questions, it looked like the last time we had done a citywide traffic signal study was somewhere around 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Around there, that's quite a long time, and our city doesn't look anything like it did in 2012. So what I have done is spoken with our city manager to determine what other ways we can maybe move some funding around or figure out a funding source to do a traffic signal timing study for all of Rowlett. And also, hopefully in the 24 bond, if it passes from the voters, we would like to update all of our traffic signal boxes because last year, council was made aware, and we were all jaw struck. I remember that. I could not believe, but most of our traffic signal boxes run on floppy disk. So I'm being transparent. I'm airing our dirty laundry out, but holy moly, floppy disk. So it's a big problem. And so it's going to take millions of dollars to fix it, but it needs to be done. It has to be done. So the first step is to do a traffic signal timing study and then to replace those boxes so that they have the correct timing sequence within them and also the correct vehicle detection systems as well. Great question. Jeff Cohen, did you want to add something to that?
I don't know that I can add to that. You explained it pretty well.
Well, when I'm told there's floppy disk running in traffic signal boxes, I'm going to research the heck out of that issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Lorianne Degowski. I want to comment on the previous speaker. First of all, I want to thank all of you for the decision you made to bring voting back to the annex. It's been there for so many years. I've been here since '81, and it's been there so many years. It doesn't belong in a building where we have to pay our taxes. Thank you for saving our taxes. The citizens' taxes, you did a great job. Now I'm going to talk about the real issue. How many people here belong to the community center? Raise your hand. You have memberships here. All right? Wow, you have to get a membership. Come on, it's one of the greatest buildings in the city. It's a big asset. Anybody that comes from another city and sees what we have here, it is a great facility. It's been added to because it is a great facility.
We're not paying her.
I will in a minute. I have
That's her husband.
You know, I have this guy
Nagging
in the
you.
audience. So let me get to the point. I know that there's a tabled issue that you all put on the table. It's put away. All right. Memberships here are very inexpensive and they're very reasonable. And if you ever get a chance, just come on down and see what they got if you're not a member. But I want to talk about membership pricing. If you're a youth, 7 to 17, your membership for a year, an annual membership, is $25. If you're an individual, 8 to 59 years old, your membership for an annual membership is $101. How many people here, raise your hand, are under 50?
Lorianne, do you mind showing me that in the book? Because it's not supposed to be in that book.
It is right here.
It's in that book.
Is it?
The Lakeside Leisure.
It's a secret.
It is not supposed to be in that book because that is not the decision that council made. Oh, is that the old rates? Sorry, I interrupted you. I thought you were reading the current rate or the proposed ones. Okay. I was about to say that ain't supposed to be in that book.
We're going to get on that in a minute. Okay. If you're a family of 7+, your annual membership is $230. If you're a daily drop-in, it's $5 a day. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? It's pretty reasonable when you compare it with LA Fitness and others. If you're a senior, 60 plus, your membership costs $10 for an annual membership. Now, that is a tenth, approximately, of what an individual membership is for someone that's 18 to 59 years old. That's not fair. That's not fair to those under us, in the age groups under us. They're carrying us. You know, we can afford to pay $25 a year. And these small group of people that have come out very loudly against any increase, I think are a little bit spoiled. And they want free senior discounts all the time. We come up to the center a lot. We see people here that practically live here that are seniors. $10 a year. I would like to see you raise it to $25. I would be willing to pay $50 or $100 a year as a senior. Okay? It's worth it. This is a great place. Thank you.
Thank you. To address those comments, last council meeting, which one was it? Was the last one? My goodness. Lots happened. So last council meeting, we went ahead and tabled the discussion about implementing new rates in the fiscal year 24 budget. There was some additional information that we are requesting from staff to go back and look at other entities of like this facility and determine what they do, how they do it, what programs they have, and do a real cost comparison. And then we'll be coming back, staff will be coming back to present those numbers to us, and then we'll make a decision from there. So stay tuned on that one. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Miranda. I have 3 points I want to make. First one, I want to say that I appreciate you guys getting folks off the medians and keeping people safe in our town. The second thing is a comment earlier regarding a climate action plan. Is there anything in the works for the city of Rowlett for sustainability, climate action, anything along those lines?
There is not. We haven't had any discussions on that. What we're doing climate related is what Manal Maladat, our assistant city manager, had stated, which is what did you call it? I'm trying to remember the plan that we were wanting to put in.
Initially, a conservation and landscape plan that would allow for elements of sustainability and then expand from there. But absolutely, we do not have a climate action plan.
That kind of includes some of the components that would be addressed in a climate action plan, which is the heat island effect, how to tackle that in future developments and then redevelopments. So that would have an impact on the climate. More trees, not as hot because you don't have as much concrete surface. So that's part of that study that will be coming to council soon.
Okay. And then my third question was, is there any sort of like walking bike path master plan?
Yes, there is. There is a trail master plan. In fact, I think we're going through a refresh of that plan. I don't know if the survey is still out. Oh, there you are. You're hiding behind the pole. If you want to speak on that a little bit, Aaron Cleaver, the Parks Director.
Good evening. Hello. Yes, so we are currently going through the master plan update. We had a 6-week survey that was available online. It just closed August 31st. So if you have additional comments, I would love to visit with you. I can give you my card. You can, share them with me, and then I can pass them on. But yes, the landscape architect, the contractor is tallying up all of those comments and survey results. So
I'll come find you.
okay, perfect.
And
Thank you.
Also, last year we opened up Lake Highlands Trail. I don't know if you know where that is. It's a brand new trail that we put in. It goes from Dalrock Road all the way up to Schrady Road. And then there's a future plan to expand it past that point. We're also constructing the Fuqua Lane Trail. That'll be under construction soon, I believe.
Very soon.
It's a $1 million project. So we're starting to tackle some projects for additional sidewalk connections in the city because we want to try and interconnect all parts of our city if possible to make it more walkable and people to ride bikes and stay healthy. So
Yeah, we walk a lot and there's a lot of sidewalks missing. So.
Yes, there is. And that's another thing that I was planning on bringing up at a future capital improvement program task force meeting was connecting dead end sidewalks. So you'll see like a business that's been developed here, and they have, as a requirement for development, they have to construct a sidewalk. But then the next development is, it's land. So you have a lot of dead end sidewalks. So how do we connect those and make our city more walkable? So
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Stephanie Higgins Aduddle. Hey guys, thank y'all for being here and kind of, doing this. I like these these town hall meetings. I think they're great. And I also really appreciate staff and helping me coordinate the last minute emergency cleanup for the lake, and we got that trash picked up. It was really a great thing, and I really appreciate all of that help. I did want to bring up, and I've been kind of discussing it since July of 2021. I work with Patriot Anglers. We take veterans and first responders out for recreational therapy. And we also have Heroes on the Water that works directly with the VA that brings people of disability out in the kayaks to do physical therapy. So Dave's Kayak Shop currently does not have an ADA compliant ramp for people of disability to get to his kayak shop. The current, concrete pavement that's there is what was put into the agreement when it was signed, and it's considered a transition for a truck to bring kayaks and stuff up, but we do need an ADA ramp. It's too long according to what ADA compliance requires for that. I do know that we did make adjustments to the sidewalk because we had kayaks that were blocking wheelchairs from being able to access, and they were getting into the grass. I do appreciate that, and y'all did change the rolled curb on that to make sure that wheelchairs could get up, because before we were having to put a piece of plywood down to get the wheelchairs up to Dave's Kayak Shop. I really would like for this to be addressed because we are going to be having more events there as we continue to grow our program, and I really would like to be all inclusive for everyone.
Thank you. And to address your first comments, we can't thank you enough for putting that together and cleaning up that encampment for us. Seriously, you're truly a dedicated citizen. We appreciate you and your husband for the work that y'all did. Y'all did not have to do it. We would have done it, but it means a lot for someone who really takes a lot of pride in their city to do all that work. It wasn't easy. And again, thank you for communicating with me and the members of council on that issue as well. So we
always try my best.
Yes, we truly shout out to you and your husband. Y'all are amazing. And then Aaron Cleaver, if you wouldn't mind responding to the ADA compliant issue.
Yes. Hi again, Stephanie. So most recently, we did have another ADA inspection of the entire park. Unfortunately, that was not listed on there. There are some other areas in the park that we do need to focus on that will remedy rather quickly. I would love to visit with you to maybe come up with some ideas about how we could possibly fix that. But from the summary that we did receive, it is ADA compliant.
So you're saying there's a new RAS report?
There is a new RAS report, yes.
Okay. I will get that on public record. Thank you.
Yes, please do file an open records request to get that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mark Engen. I get to talk about trash too.
Right.
But in a different meaning. And I'm kind of speaking on behalf of Keep Rowlett Beautiful. But I just wanted to ask the question, because you had mentioned that our garbage contract switches a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that all the bids have been submitted. And I'm asking this only for educational purpose, because we like to work with new garbage collection services especially in the recycling part. Has a bid been signed off yet?
No, it has not.
Okay, so.
It's coming to
that-
council at the September 19th meeting.
Oh, it is, okay.
It will be on individual consideration where council will discuss it and then take action on that item one way or another. Is the Republic Services Manager here? Rick? He's not. Okay. He's usually at our events.
Okay.
But
So I just wanted to find out.
Yes, and
if that is
Jeff
what
Cohen.
that
Well,
might be.
I just want a small correction. The discussion, work session will be the 18th, and then the item will be considered on the 19th.
I don't think we're doing a work session. It's on individual consideration for the September 19th agenda.
I apologize.
Sit down. Thank you, though.
Just one other comment, just to follow up on the lady in the kind of orange red there with the pile of trash. I know my wife submitted, a good week and a half ago about that because it's been there for over a month.
Oh,
The
on-
trash
on
in front, off of
HBC?
George Bush on the service road.
When did she send it?
A good week and a half ago.
Okay.
And we never got a response back from anybody.
Do you know who she emailed? Was it city
City staff, right.
Action
The
Center?
resource. Action Center, I'm sorry, Action Center.
Okay, so I'll
right.
follow up with them and figure out why they wouldn't respond.
And it's a good thing she brought it up because I think within our city, and I don't know if there's any ordinance, but a lot of people contract with a contractor to do work with inside their house. And I thought the contractors always had to really take that away.
They did.
But they go the easy way out and dump it in our front yards. So we lose the beautification of our cities.
That
So
is
it begins to look trashy. So I don't know how you can enforce that, but how do we encourage the public to the problem is people don't want to pay the contractor the extra $50 to go over to the dump site, but that should be part of their expense.
It is a city ordinance that if you have a contractor doing work that have to get rid of debris, that they have to remove it. If it's an individual doing the work, like for example, if an individual is cutting down their tree, they obviously can place it at the curb. But if it's a contractor that's doing it, that contractor has to remove it. So you're right about that. The enforcement it's really not easy to enforce that. You have to catch it in the act, and that's almost not possible in many cases.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for being here. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Michelle Newell, Curmudgeon. First, I'd like to know when y'all plan on putting water back in the lake. And
Can you
then-
not get your boat in the water?
well, another whole story. Anyway, I personally would like to also thank Stephanie because she was the only one that cleaned up that mess.
Wow.
Nobody else helped her out. So,
Wow.
and I don't know if you saw the before pictures, but whoever had been there a long time and accumulated lots of apartment worth of junk, and she did it all in 110 degrees by herself.
Wow.
So there's that.
Well, again, she's just amazing. We really appreciate her. So
And then here's the curmudgeon. I am not a member of this facility. I would if I had more time. And I'd like to say that I'm not a senior, but I am. And while $10 is a very reasonable rate, $25 might put some seniors that are on fixed income in a more difficult position. I can't imagine that there are enough senior citizens that would take a more than double increase in their dues to help the budget at all. And if $10 isn't enough, then donate the money so that maybe somebody else who can't afford $25 can afford it. But don't take a unilateral approach that says, well, it's a good deal, so everyone should pay double. I don't know. Personal opinion. Again, I'm not even a
Well,
member.
hey.
I don't have a dog in the hunt. But
but you can become a member.
Pardon me?
You can become a member.
I'm happy to.
We're going to sign you up.
$5 a day is just fine for me. But the real reason I'm up here, I think I named everything else, was with the master plan trails. I've had conversations with many of you guys on this in the past, but just to get it on the record again and to talk to David Hall.
Let me guess.
No.
Drum roll.
No trails behind
Single family homes.
It just hasn't come up in a while.
Yeah.
and
It's
I
good
know
to
there's-
remind us.
Pardon me?
It's good to remind us every once in a while.
Yeah, well, I figure individually, those who I berate about it hear about it all the time, but those who haven't heard me.
Well, that's how I got to know you and Dan so well.
Yes.
And Rhonda and Jim, who are in the audience as well, is through that era of trails behind single family homes.
Yes.
And y'all were heated, but very respectful. And I really appreciate that. And we've become great friends after that. So thank you for being persistent on that issue. And as council has said before, there's no intention of putting any trails behind any existing single family homes.
Yeah, but yes. But I would just like to point out if y'all get hit by a bus and we get new city council that were like the old city council.
Well, as long as we're not on the same bus.
But anyway, that's my 2 cents and I'm done.
All right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
First, kudos to Steph as well, and to the other folks that helped clean up. And kudos to City Council. I think you guys are doing a great job. I know how hard you work. A couple things. I have a question for Chief, first of all. Not this chief, fire chief. Where are we with the emergency siren installation? Are we finished? Are we partway done? Where are we with that?
We are currently trying to finish up some easements on those so we could come back and finish them in. We're about 75% complete on that project, but we've got a few easements that are outstanding that we're trying to close the gap on so we can get the vendor to come back and do them all at one time.
Chief, I believe there are 7 additional sirens that need to be installed.
Yes.
And how many are currently installed, if you can recall?
14, I think.
14. So we, as part of the last bond election, approved funding for new outdoor warning sirens. Our existing ones were over 20 years old and were having some increasing malfunctioning issues, costing us more money. So figured to replace the system. These are much louder sirens and they have more capabilities. And also we were going to put weather stations and PTZ cameras for non-streaming, like they're only live fed, they're not recorded, so that our EOC, Emergency Operations Center, can monitor weather conditions when there's severe weather.
And just so you know, we're working on both systems. We have both systems activated right now, the old system and the new system. So we have a lot of coverage.
Right, yeah.
We will have overlapping coverage once the new system's complete.
Right, I've been hearing both tests, and the one closest to me is still the old one, so I got to listen for that wail and wail, and so just curious. So thank you for that. The other is, and this is not strictly a council issue, but I know council currently is working through this as members of the RHFC board. There's been a lot of work going on in that area, and at present, those meetings are not broadcast. So I was wondering if you could provide a quick summary of what's been going on in the last month or month and a half, so that the general public would have an idea of what's going on. Because I will say kudos to the council members that are board members in addressing the challenges that were being brought to the city through that avenue.
All right.
If you want to do it at a later meeting in a podcast, that would be fine as well. But I guess my point is, they're not video broadcast. And so, and I missed the meeting yesterday. I was on the golf course. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. But so I think the general public really isn't aware. And I've seen posts on Facebook. People are concerned. So I think it'd be a good thing either if you can do it tonight or if you could do it through a podcast, that would be helpful. About what's going on lately with the RHFC in particular. And I know there are some concerns with projects not getting done in a timely manner, and things like what's happening to the potential payments from those projects, things like that. So
yes, sir. Thank you for bringing that up. So just to provide some background to those who don't know the situation, a couple months ago, the City Council replaced the Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors with ourselves, individuals. So I'm the president, Jeff Wingett's the vice president, and Deb Schinder is the secretary. We also have the other members of council who sit on that board. One of the reasons for replacing the board was due to a couple of things that the HFC went into memorandum of understandings for on 2 existing multifamily projects to turn them into tax credited developments. It would have wiped out, remind me how much money?
Almost 1.3 million or 3.3% of property tax revenue.
Every year. So that was a major issue while we're already struggling to make ends meet. So we needed to take quick, decisive action, and we did. As part of that, we wanted to increase the transparency of the board. So we now have agendas that are posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. We also have minutes that get posted. And I believe we're going to be working on, we've been voice recording our meetings. So we're going to be working on uploading those voice recordings to this website as well, so people can listen in.
Thank you. And I would have one more comment. I moved to Rowlett on December 2nd, 1983. I believe I voted in every city election except one. And in every one of those instances, voting was at the city annex. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
On a side note, I did ask Deb if there was a subscription email thing that we could set up for Rowlett Housing Finance Corp. So I actually would like to have those like we do with all the other city things.
Not a bad idea. We'll look into it.
And then Mr. Howard. So I did have a question on what we're going to do about coordinating the water safety. I know a lot of times the calls get pushed around when we have something on the water. Does it go to Rockwall County? Does it go to Dallas County? Does it go to Rowlett? I know I had a couple of incidences that I've reached out to you personally about, and I just wanted to see where we were at in that plan.
It's a 911 thing, basically. It's what happens is the call initially goes to Dallas because it falls into Dallas County. We're working with them currently to try to get that corrected. So those calls on the perimeter of the lake will come to us so our water rescue team can respond. Most of the time we respond and get there before Dallas does, but we want the call first so they don't have to call us to transfer.
Do we have a boat already in Sapphire Bay? Because I know that there's the Northwest office.
Yes, no, we do not have a boat, or nor do we have planned to have a boat at this moment in time in Sapphire Bay. We have a Swiftwater, we have a small Inmar boat that we can do water rescues with if needed, and that unit will be moved to that location when we have it station.
Station 5 will be where that's moved.
Okay. Can we post a little bit more about the CERT classes too when they're available?
Absolutely. I'll talk to the search team about it. Thank you.
And also for reference, it's my understanding from Chief Howard that if we ever get a call of a person in distress on the lake, if it's around our area take line, that he will, our guys will respond.
We will answer the call beyond a shadow of a doubt.
So that's who the 911 are calling directly.
I hope to get the 911 problem fixed. It's kind of, it's kind of an animal, you know.
Well, it also kind of is messy because sometimes it'll go to Dallas and sometimes it'll go to Rowlett.
Oh, I know. I've experienced it a couple of times.
And a lot of it's what cell tower they ping.
Yeah.
So that causes some problems too.
Okay.
But we're working through it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mayor, council, city manager. I represent a number of seniors in the city of Rowlett. 2.5 years ago, Ed Banderas, this is a form of praise I want to give to the city administration and to the council. 2.5 years ago, Ed Banderas, together with some other people, came and talked with us. We put on a health seminar once a month, fourth Tuesday. Senior citizens of Rowlett, sometimes known as SCORE, we're a 501c3, and we do this for the benefit of the health and well-being of citizens of Rowlett. Now, last week, I reached out to Mr. Banderas because I had seen on the CDC website an increase in coronavirus, that's coronavirus-19, had been going up. It has not reached pandemic proportions, obviously, but we would like to, having reached out to Mr. Banderas, if he would like to come and talk with us again. And he was out of town, so his assistant, Hannah Myers,
yes,
responded immediately and put me in contact with some other folks in Garland, because this is the clinic in Garland that is most aware of what's going on with COVID. And I have since confirmed with them that we're going to have a seminar on the 26th of September, Tuesday at 10 a.m. here in the community center on COVID-19. And it's going to be presented by the epidemiologist from Garland. However, what I wanted to do was make clear how responsive and how well coordinated they were with other cities, Hannah Myers in particular, and Ed. Okay. Second thing is that I've lived here more than 30 years, and I have never voted in a church. I've lived in Chicago, in New York City, in Denver, in Ohio. I have never voted in a church. And I appreciate the fact that I've been able to vote in GISD schools, specifically Beck, Coyle, and the Annex. So I don't see the purpose of going into a church where I'm possibly facing some kind of intimidation. Trees. Trees are very important to the canopy of any city, and where they are chiefly ignored. I know that the city's compensated whenever a constructor cuts down a tree, and they're supposed to replace it, but they replace it with young trees or saplings, and it's a mature tree that is really the more valuable and contributes most to the atmosphere and the protection, the shade, the well-being of the community. So I just ask that the city be more observant about what's going on with their tree canopy. I noticed, for example, with the First Baptist construction that's going on Main Street, every tree has been shaved off of the construction site. There used to be a couple of fig trees there. Lorianne and I would go by and pick off a few trees when they were ripe. It was really, really very nice. They're gone, together with probably 100 other trees that we've seen piled up there. I hope the city really gets a lot of money so that they can put back trees and contribute to the canopy of this city. But to conclude, once again, on a positive note, thank you very much for having people like Hannah and Ed.
Thank you for shouting them out. They are amazing people. Our emergency management specialist, our emergency management division is run by Ed Balderas, who is our emergency management coordinator, and then Hannah Myers, who is our emergency management specialist. And they have great connections across the region and the state because, well, when you're in a time of need and you have to use them, they got to have those connections. So we also contract with the Garland Health Services or Garland Health Department for health services. They have resources that we don't have whenever events like COVID-19 happen, and also to help us with vaccination clinics. They have those resources. We don't have them, and they've been a great partner to work with, and I'm happy to hear that they're working with senior citizens of Rowlett. So thank you. Yes, sir.
Mayor, my name is Martin Malloy. I live way on the east side of town. I just want to read this. Provident Realty Advisors is announced in June 13th of 2023, a community with about 1,000 single-family homes on 540 acres north of Rockwall. Why should we care? Because that's probably going to put 2,000 cars a day on 66. I think a great long-term threat to quality of life in Rowlett is traffic on 66. There's probably a bunch of people here who don't venture out past about 3 in the afternoon until about 6, until it's finally dissipated. I think there's, as it's getting worse, post-COVID, as traffic starts to really come back, you're going to start seeing a lot of nuisance traffic in the adjacent neighborhoods. There's a bunch of things that long-term 66 is going to do to us. We are in a very odd geographical situation because of the lake, because you can't develop a grid of arterial streets across there. Yep. You've only got the one. The I-30 is very welcome, and it'd be a lot more resilient. It's not a whole lot more capacity. I think this city ought to be forward-leaning on asking for a new route to relieve traffic into Rockwall. from PGBT up by the two Merritt Drives, somewhere in there, across the boundary of our city and Saxe and into Rockwall County, reaching 205, John King. It would be tremendous benefit to us.
It's funny you say that. That actually was, we had a meeting, I want to say 2019, 2020 with, I don't remember what organization it was, but they were looking at potentially another thoroughfare. Exactly what you just said runs between Garland, Rowlett, and Saxe and goes to 205. It's kind of interesting you say that, but yeah, that actually has been talked about.
It would logically be on the NTTA system. It wouldn't cost us a dime. NTTA post-COVID has had their traffic has come back from that. They announced earlier this year to the general contractors they had $1 billion to go to construction with, and so that would be a partner for us. I think Rockwall ought to be a partner for us because they can't do anything about the square. All the traffic's going to meter through that square. It's historic. You can't do a thing about it, and they're getting a lot of nuisance traffic on Lakeview, whatever, spreading out into the residential neighborhoods. I think Saxe, Wiley would be a partner for us. But I think this city ought to take a forward lean towards what can we do for 66. We need to talk to COG. We need to get the models upgraded. How much more traffic are we going to get, based on the 2045 model or whatever they got right now, and start to talk that up. Rockwall County is going into a master planning phase. It needs to be talked about that. We are the people will come off the worst if nothing's done. And we would greatly benefit from a new route just to relieve what we got. It would benefit our retail, benefit quality of life, various things. It would certainly benefit the residential neighborhoods. So the traffic is already moving on in through those.
Sir, I agree with absolutely everything you just said. You raised many valid and correct points. I'd actually like to see if you'd be interested in sometime in the future serving on our capital improvement program task force, because you could add some pretty good value with the knowledge that you've just shared. So what we're doing with regards to how to relieve 66 is we're talking years and planning and millions and dollars. So like I mentioned in my introductory slide, we're working on Miller Road. I know that only goes from the railroad tracks to Dow Rock, but it is a step in the right direction. We are paying attention and focusing on how to get federal funds to build the Miller Road, reconstruct the Miller Road Bridge. And then we have nearly almost fully funded the Merritt Road Interconnector, which again expands that traffic capacity, takes it away from Liberty Grove, which is only 2 lanes, and moves people east and west. But yes, you're right. Geographically, it is a challenge because of the lake. The lake is our best friend and can be our worst enemy. And in this case, it doesn't help us because when you have to build a road over a lake, it costs half as much, twice as much than a regular road because you have to build bridge structures.
Yeah, the north end of the lake is not nearly as wide.
Right.
And again, NTTA would take the burden. They're just not going to step ahead of it until the cities say something.
When it was brought up in, I want to say 2019, it was proposed to be a toll road. So I don't think you're off. It's discussions have happened about that. I'd be happy to look back in and get an update on that, whether they've either dropped it or it's just a part of their plan.
It came up in 2015 as the Blacklands Corridor.
It turned into something else, yeah.
That was a bloodbath.
It was.
Because it was a private sector toll road.
Right.
And because it went way into the rural, Hunt County out there.
Yeah, this was a different one.
A lot of people would oppose it from there.
Yeah. No, you're right. At Blackland Prairie, remember that era pretty well. This was after that, and these people tried to come to a middle ground on how to deal with the right-of-way issues and what the best avenue would be to get traffic from east to west. So I appreciate all your comments. You make very good points. And again, if you don't mind reaching out to me, merritt.com, I'd like to add you to a list for sometime in the future when we have to fill a vacancy on our CIPTF. I'd like to reach out and see if you'd be interested in that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Back to just point that I made earlier to address some comments that were made. So could you clarify when the county elections uses a city facility, is the city reimbursed at all?
We pay for it. Yeah, we pay for it.
So you don't bill the city, the county at all? For
No, the
anything?
county bills us.
I know, but for the use of your building. I know they bill you for the actual doing the election, but the use of the building. So there's no reimbursement for that at all.
Okay. Interesting. We don't know. We can find out.
Yeah, I believe the answer is yes, because I've studied it out, because that's what I wanted to find out. Because to the lady's question about saving money, somebody pays for it. And I think if you check, I could be wrong, but I think each city is entitled to be reimbursed for those expenses. Again, separate from you paying for the election, it's the facility. And again, just one final thing, bringing back your comments about people not being welcome. The language that you're using, again, I don't know how people feel like they could be intimidated, because remind me, who runs the election in any building? Is it the building owners, or is it the elections
As you've stated
department?
today, it's the county elections department.
Yeah, and that consists not only of paid staff, but also people on both sides. And so the language of being, non-part or be bipart or nonpartisan, be, an election possibly moved a certain way, or to use this gentleman's of intimidation. Again, the language you use in identifying that in your statements on last Tuesday sets a tone that, again, is to me uneducated and could even be obtuse, because how could someone be intimidated at an election place via any place? That's against the law. So again, the language used, the way you approached it. You pay for the election, pick where you want. Don't throw the words of that blanket statements, because that creates a dialect or a vernacular that churches are haters and intimidators or whatever. Again, your words are your opinion, but as a mayor behind that dais, it's a little bit bigger. So thank you again for clarifying.
Thank you. We will certainly agree to disagree. I appreciate it.
And I'd like to find out a follow-up, if they do get paid for those rental facilities.
We would be happy to follow up. All right. Any other questions before we wrap it up? Yes, I forgot to ask about Facebook Live. What do we have? You might have to run up here.
Concern about Terralago and biohazard dumping.
Can you say that again?
I said there's a concern about the Terralago situation and biohazard dumping. Is that something that maybe Dale could address?
Was that the question?
It was a very long question. I'm paraphrasing.
Hold on, I'm trying to get this out of here.
Okay, long story short, with respect to Terralago, they are required to remediate their environmental hazards. That must be done in accordance with TCEQ regulations. The city doesn't regulate that. That's done under accordance with state law. So we've heard comments that people are concerned that there'll be biohazard dumping and all of those things. Obviously, we're still looking at the project. We're still looking at what's happening, but we do not have any regulatory control over that aspect of this project and of them trying to rebuild.
That answers that question. Yes.
I have a question and a price report. I was told to email you, David, to let you know that we've been doing a remodel in the city. So we've had to work with your city inspection department. And I just want to give kudos to that department, because they have been very responsive to the point of emailing me late after hours and responding to me with not just, no, you can't do that, but here's options to do it. And so kudos, shout out to, mainly want to point out Patrick. So
good to know.
I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. It's good to hear that.
It's easier than writing an email. Just get up here and
So shout out to Inspections and Patrick for his responsiveness.
Yeah. Also, wanted to find out, did a survey about the downtown rehabilitation, and what's the status on that?
Sure. we can have Libby Tucker with Director of Economic Development come up and answer that.
Okay.
Yes, the survey was completed, and we plan to bring those results forward to City Council at a work session pretty soon. But very positive overall. The interesting thing was shade was one of the top things that people were interested in having more of. Public restrooms, parking. So a lot of things for us to address, and we also have a strategic plan that will be coming forward with a consultant soon. We open those bids tomorrow. So we'll wrap all of that into that strategic plan to bring forward to see what's next.
Also, one of the top requests was ice cream in downtown.
Yes.
Gotta have
especially
it.
with Brahms being closed during the
We
summer.
have no ice cream. Currently open ice cream places, and I, you know, people are saying, Mayor, why? Why'd you do this? I didn't do it.
It's his fault. And one other thing, thank you, Libby. Forward to working with you. My husband had a recommendation on the traffic problem. You know, those taxis, those water taxis we were going to put in? You know, maybe we could do a barge or something to take cars across.
So like a vehicle barge, just a ferry. I don't think the lake's that deep. I don't think it can.
Underground tunnels, come on. They got it. Anyway,
We can get a big helicopter to lift cars up and
that would work too.
yeah.
So
Tunnel under. If you can find me, if you can find me $1 billion, I'll put a tunnel under Rowlett.
but thank you all for your service.
All right. Yes, Denise.
What is the status of Sapphire Bay?
Oh, yes, I addressed that in the introduction piece of my update, which is there's progress happening, not as fast as we would like it, but due to all of the economic issues, labor shortage, inflation, shortage of supplies, it has impacted pretty much every development, especially a $2 billion development. So, is there another question over there? All right. Okay, I appreciate everybody's time. I think this is a great way to get people out and interested in their local government, and hope that y'all took some value out of this and learned something. And again, your city council will be staying back for a little bit to answer some of your questions if you wanted to address us privately. Thank you all, and thank you for tuning in as well.